I'd like to welcome you to our Saturday Night Live Joyful Gathering Spiritual Center Inspirational Talk. My name is Reverend Margaret Palagye. I am the minister, the founding minister of Joyful Gathering Spiritual Center. And we are so happy that you have joined us this evening. So let me just tell you a little bit about Joyful Gathering. First of all, we are located in the community center in Collingswood, 30 West Collins Avenue, Collingswood, New Jersey. And I would like you to really check out our brand new website. Reverend Brenda Shuck designed this glorious new website, joyfulgathering.org. All of our information, our classes, our workshops, and our live services, which will begin in person on April 18th. So, just to let you know that we do have 2 classes coming up. One of the classes is with our practitioner, Dana Smith, and it will be taking place on May 13th. And that one is called The Science of Getting Rich, a book by Wallace Wattles. And we're also using Wallace Wattles' book in the class that myself and Reverend Rita Biancasino will be teaching, Abundance and the Dynamic Law of Attraction. That sounds so good. So that one starts in, May 4th. So stay tuned for more on that. Join us Wednesday nights. We have a beautiful meditation. We have a group prayer that we do for you. And then we have a community chat. So we'd love for you to join us. All of this information is on joyfulgathering.org. Okay, so let's just take a really nice deep breath right now. As you join me, as we begin this new month of March with Living Life Fully. That's the title of the talk this evening. In the Tibetan Book of the Dead, it says this: we came from the light. We put on coats of skins, and we shall return to the light. And I find that really, really powerful because we truly are light beings. We are eternal. There's an eternal light within us that is connected to the infinite I am light, that incredible source of all good. And just to know that we came from light, we're having this human experience, and we return to the light after we've had this experience. So while we're here, we are going to talk this evening about living life fully. And so knowing that life is eternal, that we came from light, and definitely will return to it, our time here on this plane of existence has an end date, but I think most of us know that end date. How shall we live our lives while we are here each day in these skins, in this body? How will we live our lives? That's the question. What really matters? What's important? It kind of shifts when you think of an end date and each day as a beginning and an ending, if you will, of what is really important to you. Where do you give your time and attention, right? Do we live in peace? Do we live in love? That's what we're going to express and really dive deeply into for this whole month of March. So our focus will be standing up and stepping out in peace and in love. It's a way to live life. The question this evening is then, how shall we live knowing that we will be transitioning into another form at some point in our lives? Our spirits and our souls and the essence of who we are eternal. But the rest of us, this is a human experience happening just for this day, each day. So how are we living our lives? And please know that I do not consider this a morbid topic. It's really quite natural. But rather we begin to frame our existence, our lives, when we look at that reality. When we wake up each day, and I'm going to give you some questions during this talk that you can ask yourself each morning if you like. We can look clearly at what really matters in our lives. Where do we give our time, our attention, our energy? Where are we putting it? And what do we really love, and who do we really love? To live our lives full out is, well, that's my fulfillment. And not my fulfillment, but my intention that I am fulfilling, hopefully each and every day. So living life full out as best we can, and each day is different. We can live it full out maybe easier on one day than another. The master teacher Jesus said this, "I have come so that you might have life and have it more abundantly." You hear those words? More abundantly. To live fully in our lives, fully. Perhaps having in our conscious awareness that we won't be here forever, that we might get serious, a little bit more serious about how we can live this life abundantly, expecting that good in every experience. We might not always get it, but we expect it. In the wonderful book and then a movie, Tuesdays with Maury, a man named Mitch sits with his mentor, his college professor, who was called Maury. And he has many of life's lessons from Maury, who is dying at this time. At one point, Maury says, everyone knows they're going to die, but nobody believes it. If they did, they would do things differently. Can you see that shift in perception there? Just a slight shift. So my question to you is, if you believed, what would you do differently? If you really believed that at some point this human experience will cease, what would you do differently? So we're going to talk about two critical areas: personal relationships and the sharing of yourself with the world. First, what would you do differently in your personal relationships? If you knew that today was the last day, your last day here on this earth, who would you call? Pick up the phone, call. Who's the first person you would call? And what would you say? And what are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? We're waiting for this to get better, for that to get better. What are we waiting for? Now is the time. Each day is the day that we live our lives as fully and completely as we can. Ernest Holmes, the founder of Science of Mind, at the conclusion of his life, this is interesting, was asked, if you had to write the Science of Mind textbook again, over again, would you change anything in it? His answer was yes. I would talk less about the law and more about love. Love points the way, the law carries it out. A famous quote from Ernest Holmes. Love is the directive, the law obeys. So love is what we want to focus on truly. That divine love is what we truly want to focus on. I believe one of our greatest purposes is to be God's love in action. And of course, it is in our relationships that we get to practice that. We get to practice it there. Sometimes we do it well, and sometimes not so well. So each day will shift. Each day changes, but still you remember that you are a divine being of the light. That is the most important thing for each and every one of us to remember. At any given moment, we have the opportunity to love more, to show more kindness, to be more compassionate. Scripture tells us the importance of love in Corinthians. In Corinthians at 13, it says this, and I use this in my wedding ceremonies because it's so beautiful. Though I speak with tongues of men and of angels, and have not love in my heart, I become as sounding brass or a tinkling cymbal. And though I have the gift of prophecy, this is Paul speaking, and though I have the gift of prophecy and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and though I have all faith so that I can move mountains, and not have love in my heart, I am nothing. And though I bestow all my good to feed the poor, and though I give my body to be burned, and have not love in my heart, I gain nothing. And then he gives us a pretty good description of love. And this is really what, I don't use that in my wedding ceremonies. This is the part I use in my wedding ceremonies. Love is patient. Love is kind. Love envies no one. Love does not make a vain display of itself. It is not boastful. It keeps no scores of right or wrong, but delights in the truth. There are three things which shall abide forever: faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these is love. Is love. It tells us throughout scriptures and holy books, love, love, love. So the questions I invite you to reflect upon this evening: how then shall you love, knowing it is not forever right now? How shall you love? And the second question, what would you do differently with the way you share yourself with the world? Share your many gifts with the world. And by this I do mean sharing your gifts. Every single human that comes into form has gifts to share. So do not think that you do not have gifts. You do. Everybody does. Chinese philosopher and founder of Taoism once wrote, "There are many paths to enlightenment. Be sure to take the one with a heart." With the heart. And you sharing of yourself from the heart, it makes all the difference in the effects, because the love is the cause. When we come from love and truly stay anchored in love, the effects will be so much more beautiful and loving. What makes your heart sing? This is where your gifts are. What makes your heart sing? In Wayne Dyer's book, The 10 Secrets for Success and Inner Peace, one of the secrets he wrote is don't die with your song still, your music still inside of you. Express your music now. Express it so we can all enjoy it. What gifts are uniquely yours? You have them. And when you discover them, then share them with others. You uplift, you inspire. You don't know the beauty that you are having in life when you're sharing them. Our spiritual center, Joyful Gathering Spiritual Center, took a major step. And they took this step within a month but had been visioning for 9 years for it. But the step was in September in signing a lease in a much larger and a much more beautiful space right in the middle of the pandemic. Nothing stopped us. It was everything we wanted, and we signed this lease in September. Even when we had to close down again in December, we knew this was the place that allowed our hearts to sing. Everybody that showed up with, you could feel the palpable feeling of the love in the room when people came in. It's amazing how many glorious gifts the joyful gathering can hold the space for each one to express in. And we plan, as I said, we plan to open again April 18th because we are fulfilling our purpose. And our purpose is to be a place, a space where people can come and be with like-minded, heart-connecting people, because that is so fulfilling. And if you've been, you know what I'm talking about. And if you haven't been, check us out, April 18th. Joyful Gathering and everyone that shows up is part of our gifts. It's what we came here to do and to be a part of. It might not be everything, but it's part of our gifts. And so the second question right now is, how then shall you give of yourself, knowing you won't be here forever? How can you give of yourself? And there's this writing from Graceful Passages. The heart of most spiritual practice is simply this: remember. Remember who you are. Remember what you love. Remember what is sacred. Remember what is true. Remember that you will die and that this day is a gift. Remember how you wish to live. Remember how you wish to live. Live life full out, I'm telling you. So I want to spend a few minutes right now just anchoring this in a little bit. It's a little reflection on those two questions. So if you will join me, we'll just take like a few seconds, moments, just to anchor in this whole idea of the two questions: how shall I love today, and how I give of myself today. So take that breath with me. It brings us to center. Now ask yourself, how shall I love today? What kindness can I show to others? A word, a smile, an act of kindness? There is always a way to show love, always. And then, how can I give of myself today? Maybe someone needs some help, someone to listen. A phone call possibly could cheer someone up and change their life. We don't know. It's the giving. It's the act of stepping outside of ourselves or with ourselves and connecting with someone else. There's so many ways to give of ourselves. So I want to bring this short, brief meditation to a close with these words from Mother Teresa. She wrote this: life is an opportunity. Benefit from it. Life is beauty. Admire it. Life is bliss. Taste it. Life is a dream. Realize it. Life is a challenge. Meet it. Life is a duty. complete it. Life is a game. Play it. Life is a promise. Fulfill it. Life is an adventure. Dare it. Life is too precious. Do not destroy it. Life is life. Live it with everything you have in you, she wrote. So let us remember going forward to love for this day. Each day we say this. To love for each day. To give of ourselves in small ways or big ways. Remember, the universe does not recognize big or small. It recognizes the act of giving. It recognizes the act of loving. Not the words, but the action and the feeling, the emotion within. And so I ask us all, because I know that when we open our hearts and minds, the pathway in front of us simply unfolds with infinite opportunities of ways to express ourselves, to show up, and to just be feeling that whole feeling of being blessed. Because truly, my friends, truly, we are each and every one of us blessed. Live in love today. And now I'm going to anchor this